welcome back. SAC Plus, practice exam number 19. Number 19, as we go through and we dive into 5 questions, 5 deep dive questions to help you pass your Security Plus exam. That's our goal today. Let's get right into it. Question number 1, receiving a password hash log to reassess if salting has been applied correctly. Based on this output, what can you conclude? And you know, I lied today. I lied. I said 5. I'm actually doing 6 today. Why am I doing 6, you may ask? Because I felt like they were pretty easy. We don't normally do 6. But we are today. And I'm going to try and get it through. I know, these 20-minute videos. Ugh. I'm not a big fan of 20-minute videos. They're supposed to be quick, simple. We'll see if we can't shut up and move on a little bit with these questions, right? Are you reviewing a password hash to assess if salting has been applied correctly? Based on this output, what can you conclude? Pause the video if you need more time. Let's start answering this. All right, A, salting has been applied correctly. I mean, maybe. I mean, look at this. We've got user Alice and Bob. We see the hash has been applied correctly. What do you think? Maybe. B, both passwords are hashed with identical salts. Ooh, how would we know that? I think if we see A and B, right? We see Alice, we see Bob, and they see that they both have the same hash value associated with them, then B would be better than A, right? So salting may have been applied correctly, but both passwords are hashed with identical salts. Is that a possibility that they use the same passwords and then the same salt associated with it? That could be the case. And so B is a possible. C, the hashing algorithm is properly configured. Is it properly configured? I mean, the hashing algorithm is it's providing us a hash. So, yeah. I mean, I would assume that it's properly configured, but that's not, I mean, yeah. Kind of. I mean, I'm not a big fan of this answer, so technically, yes, it is properly configured, most likely. Or D, salting has not been applied. And so we have B, C, or D. B, C, or D. Both passwords are hashed with identical salts. That would mean that the password and the hash is the same, or the password and the salt is the same. Let's get rid of one of these. B, C, or D. I'm going to say that C is most likely not correct. Well, I guess I would say it is correct. I mean, that's a tough one. It's a tough one because it is outputting it, right? So is the hashing algorithm properly configured? I would say it is. Let's get rid of B. Both passwords are hashed with identical salts. Probably not. All right, let's just answer this. All right, the answer is D. I mean, it's such a simple question, right? And I hope I didn't confuse you on this. Why? Well, let's look at this, okay? If I've got 2 users, Alice and Bob, both with the same password, okay? And that means, let's say just their password's password, okay? And it's pushing out the same hash. We can see that here. And that's fine. But where's the salt at? Because the salt's supposed to be different for every user. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's the problem. All right? And so D is going to be correct. The salting has not been applied. They're using the same password, by the way. They're using the exact same password. And so the hashing algorithm is 100% properly configured. That is correct. But B is wrong. D is correct. Salting has not been applied. I hope that made sense as I went through the long way around this. All right, question number 2. You are analyzing the output from a password hashing process to determine if the organization is applying salting correctly. Based on this log, what can you conclude about the organization's hashing process? This is why we have 6 questions, because of salting right here. Because I felt like question number 1 was so easy. I felt like it was almost not even worth going into, but I was like, yeah, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it. All right, so we have 3 users, James, Sarah, and Alex. We do see that we have 3 different hash values, which is good. All right, let's answer this one. If you need more time, of course, you can pause the video. You are analyzing the output from a password hashing process to determine if the organization is applying salting correctly. Based on the log, what can you conclude about the organization's hashing process? Let's start with A. Salting is applied correctly, generating unique hashes for the same password. Well, if we take the last question into account, and in this case they're all different, then A is 100% correct. But let's move on, right? That, you know how we like to throw tricks at you, right? B, salting is not applied as all users have identical hashes. That's not true. They're all different. C, the hashing algorithm is outdated, and can we really tell that based on what's going on? Not really. Not really. We have no way of telling that with this limited output. And so D is probably most likely incorrect. D, the passwords are encrypted, not hashed. No, they're hashed. That is definitely a hash. And so A is going to be the correct answer on this one. Salting was applied correctly. We can see that through the hash values associated with it. There we go. A is the answer. I know. I wanted to go through A or 1 and 2 and kind of give you a heads up on that one. All right, let's move on. Question number 3. Your organization's firewall is configured to block all outgoing traffic if it loses connectivity to its central policy server. During a view, a technician notices this configuration and raises concerns. What is the primary purpose of this fail-close configuration? What is fail-close? Well, we kind of already told you what fail-close is, but what's the primary purpose of this fail-close configuration? I know, a little bit difficult on this one. Let's jump into it, shall we? Let's go right into it. We don't even need to wait. Pause the video. Your organization's firewall is configured to block all outgoing traffic if it loses connectivity to a central policy server. During a review, a technician notices this configuration and raises concerns. What is the primary purpose of this fail-close configuration? Let's start with A again. Ensure connectivity is always maintained. No, that would be a fail-open. Fail-closed does the opposite. So A is 100% incorrect. B, maximize security in case of a connectivity loss. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see that. Let's B's a good maybe. B's a good maybe. C, allow critical data through during failure. No, we close it. So that can't be correct. D, provide alternative routes in the network. No, we're closing it. I mean, the only one that makes sense is B. Maximize the security in case of connectivity loss, and B is going to be our correct answer. I hope I got that one right. Did I stump you? Did I get you? All right, B. All right, question number 4. Question number 4. A company must dispose of multiple hard drives containing sensitive data. You are tasked with verifying the data sanitization process. What is the appropriate next step for hard disk drive 002? Hard disk drive 002. All right, if we look at the log here, we see hard disk drive 001, method is DOD, pass is completed 3, and it's successful. Then we see hard disk number 2, method is DOD. We see the same process. Process 1 has been completed. Pass is completed has been 1. Status incomplete. So what do we need to do? What do we need to do on this one? Pause the video. Pause the video if you need more time. Let's jump into this one. A company must dispose of multiple hard drives containing sensitive data. You are tasked with verifying the data sanitization process. What is the appropriate next step for hard disk drive 002? All right. Usually when I look at these questions, we do a compare and contrast, right? And so we have the device name 1 and 2. Nothing's changed there. The method hasn't changed. The passes completed has. And so obviously it requires 3 passes to complete according to the log that we're seeing here, which is a dead giveaway of how to answer this question. All right, so A, rerun the sanitization process with multiple passes. Maybe. I mean, because we could see 1 and then we could see 3. So 1 is incomplete. Was just 1 run or did it stop? That's the real question. So A is a probable. B, label it as sanitized and removed from inventory. No, it's not sanitized. It's incomplete. Oh my gosh, no. Absolutely not. Not for DoD. Not for sensitive information. Oh, hell no. So B, 100% not correct. Perform a low-level format only. Oh, jeez. No. Right. Can you imagine? That's like taking a USB drive and just putting delete, taking the files and putting it into the recycling bin. And then when you're done, you can be like, well, I accidentally deleted this file. Hold on. Where is my autopsy program? Where's autopsy? Because I could pull that up in a minute. D, physically destroy the drive. Ooh, I like D. Physically destroy that sucker. If we physically destroy a drive, if we mulch it, if we chip it, we do something like that. Oh, it's not coming back. It's not coming back. All right. What if we burn it? That could be fun too. All right. It's really between A and D. Do we rerun the sanitization process with multiple passes, or do we physically destroy the drive? If you answer D, physically destroy that sucker, well, you'd be incorrect. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bad guy. No, we're going to rerun the sanitization process. Remember, we're not doing the destruction process. We're doing the data sanitization process. There's the big difference between the two. Destroying the drive would be the destruction process. We're just sanitizing right now. A is going to be our correct answer. A is going to be it. There we go. A. All right, question number 5. We have one more after this. Don't forget, we have one more. We have 6 this time. All right, a company reports that malware infections occur on average 3 times annually. As part of a risk assessment, you calculate the annual rate of occurrence, ARO, for malware incidents. Which of the following values represent the ARO? Oh, that's mean. That's mean. Ooh, that is mean. Okay, company reports malware infection. All right, what do you think? What do you think? I know it's weird. This is a mean one. Oh, I don't like this one. Attention to detail. I mean, it's kind of easy, but it's attention to detail to get you every time. Should we answer this one? Go ahead and pause the video if you need more time. The company reports that malware infections occur on average 3 times annually. As part of the risk assessment, you calculate an ARO for malware incidents. Which of the following represents the ARO? Well, let's start with D, number 10. I don't see 10 in here. Nope, not going to be 10. 1. 1 is a good answer. I like 1. It could be 1. No, not going to be 1. Is it B, 3? Do we have an annual rate of occurrence of 3? Or is it 0.33? Do you remember what ARO is? Do you remember how to calculate an ARO? Do you remember what it is? Do you remember the calculation for ARO? All right, let's think about this. I'm going to give you a second. It's either A or it's 3. Which one do you think it is? Well, I think it really comes down to, did you get in your own head? Because the answer is B, 3. There is no calculation for ARO. Annual rate of occurrence is how many times it happens per year. You were probably thinking annual loss expectancy, which is our single loss expectancy, right? Multiplied by our annual rate of occurrence gives us our annual loss expectancy. And that is different. That's the calculation. So SLE times ARO equals ALE. And ARO, this time, is just how many times it occurs. And it even tells us in the answer in number 3, on average, 3 times annually. Pretty easy question. Pretty easy. Did I fool you? I don't know. All right, question number 6, our bonus question. During a security incident review, you examine a packet capture. What type of attack might this indicate? What type of attack might this indicate? And we have our source IP, our destination IP. We have a timestamp, number of login attempts. Then we have a protocol, HTTP, authentication, basic. And then we see another one at 1203 with 10 login attempts. Apparently to the same server, which is a little bit weird. All right, what kind of attack might this indicate? What kind of attack? I know I like these better. All right, let's answer this one. If you need more time, of course, you can pause that video. All right, during a security incident review, you examine a packet capture. What type of attack might this indicate? And I already pointed out the logs, right? We have 15 login attempts and we have 10 login attempts. The time, nothing else really matters on there. Pretty cut and dry for compare and contrast. Shall we start with A again? Credential replay. Credential replay. I mean, that's a strong assessment that we could have a credential replay since we have so many login attempts. Definitely a maybe. Definitely a maybe. Man in the middle attack. Based on the logs, I'm not seeing a man in the middle attack. Why? Because we're looking at login attempts. Man in the middle attack would hit it in between, which means we wouldn't see any login attempts, right? Not something we'd normally see. Maybe one or two, right? Because they're playing into it when the initial login comes. But yeah, not gonna be this one. Privilege escalation. Privilege escalation. Not really, because we see the attempts, right? And it's coming from an outside IP address. So yeah, and by outside, you're probably looking at it going, wait a second, it's from a source of internal into a destination that's 10. They're both private IP address. Yeah, but they're on different local area networks. And so, I mean, I'm gonna discount this one. I'm gonna discount it because it's not on the same network. That's one clue. The second clue is we're seeing login attempts. Privilege escalation will usually use malware or will use a type of a process. It's usually not going to be a attempt like this, right? That's not typical of privilege escalation. Privilege escalation does not usually try to use a password, right? And if it was, it would be more of a brute force attack, okay? Which leads us to D, password spraying. Password spraying. We see the number of login attempts. Definitely could be a process, especially since we're seeing login attempts, which is a form. Password spraying is a form of brute force attack. So it's either going to be A or it's going to be D. It's either going to be A or D. And if you know the difference between the two, then the answer is pretty self-evident. if you know the difference between the two, if you've seen logs before. I'll give you a second. It's either A or D. What do you think? All right, for our last question of the night, of the day, if you answered D, password spraying, you would be 100% totally wrong. I know. I probably got a couple of you. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to break your nerves. Why is it not password spraying? Because the login attempts are from a specific user. That's why. Because it's tracking login attempts. And so when it attacks login attempts, it's tracking it from a specific user, not from multiple users. And remember, password spraying is not going to a single user. It's going to multiple users trying the same password from multiple different users, which means we would not see login attempts at 10. We'd see it at 1, maybe 2, and then we'd see more at 2, then we'd see more at 2, or we'd see login attempts 15 and then 15. I mean, you could utilize it that way, but it would be the same, and we're not seeing that. We're seeing 15 and then 10. That's more indicative of a credential replay where they've grabbed credentials and they're trying to replay those credentials to log into the system, and it's occurring multiple times. And so that would be our answer. It's going to be A. A is going to be our right answer. All right, I hope I got you. I hope you learned something today. I hope this was beneficial. As always, I'm Dr. K. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, everyone.